Hello and welcome to LA Currents. I'm Anita Bennett. Well, honoring trailblazers and celebrating African American contributions to Los Angeles, it's all part of the African American Heritage Month celebration here in the city. And joining us to discuss this and some other important topics for Angelenos, we have Councilmembers Curren Price and Heather Hutt, as well as Council President Marqueece Harris-Dawson. Welcome.
Welcome. It's good to be here.
Thank you. So let's get right into this. How are we commemorating Heritage Month here in the city this year? What's going on?
Well, we've got a lot of exciting events happening. Some have already transpired in the council chamber. Our Authors Study Club every year sponsors a celebration going back to the 40s here in Los Angeles. We continue that tradition to today, and we have a display on the bridge, and we'll have a presentation about Central Avenue later in the month and the history there.
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow, that's right, that's right. And this doesn't usually happen, but on Monday, Councilwoman Hutt will be sponsoring the MLK parade that'll go down the regular route this time in February instead of at MLK's birthday because we moved it.
Because of the fires,
because of the
wildfires.
fires, exactly.
Yeah.
So was it difficult to get everyone to shift everything?
Yes. Yes, it was, but everyone felt like it wasn't the right time. When people were suffering the way that they are in the middle of a crisis, we shouldn't be like, yeah, let's get the marching band and go down King. But we are going to do it on Monday, and we're not expecting rain, so it'll be the same route to King Boulevard, and it'll end at Leimert Park. Hoping folks will come out.
That's great. And we are going to talk a lot more about the fires and fire recovery, but for now I want to focus a little bit more on Heritage Month. You celebrated a famous photographer, Leroy Hamilton, is that correct?
Leroy Hamilton, who we all know if you live in Los Angeles and you're a part of civic life in any way, you've probably seen one of Leroy's pictures or had your picture taken by Leroy Hamilton, and it's a great display there on the bridge that everybody's invited to come see. During business hours, it's open to the public here in Los Angeles.
Lots
City
of community faces. You'll see recognize an earlier version.
Yeah.
In his work, he captures people in such a way. He has such an eye. He gets your feelings, and he puts it in that picture. And he's magnificent.
And people who don't know what the bridge means,
Yes, so on the third floor of City Hall, where council chambers, the mayor's office, there's a bridge that connects City Hall and City Hall East. And on that bridge, there's kind of a museum display that has years and years of Leroy Hamilton's work. In fact, it's titled The Story of Us. And it really is the story of us, because he's been taking pictures for around 40 years now. And so it's a lot of history there, a lot of people that aren't with us anymore. That you get to see them see people in their prime or at the height of their contributions.
of all his pictures, do any of you have a favorite?
Well, the ones I always enjoy are the ones that he takes at the parades.
Yeah.
You know, he gets the faces, he gets the kids, he gets the excitement, he sees the enthusiasm, and it's reflected in his pictures.
There's a Johnny Cochran photo that he took when Johnny Cochran was defending Geronimo Pratt. That really stands out to me. And there's a Herb Wesson, Curren Price picture that I like.
It's interesting you brought up Herb Wesson. He was the first African American council president, and you are the second. What does that mean to you? And it sounds like a lot of responsibility.
It's a tremendous responsibility, and we're so grateful to our colleagues for calling on us to lead in that way. My two colleagues that are with me now, but almost everybody else on the council was very supportive of that. It's a big job and a big moment in the city of Los Angeles. The other thing I'll note that's important to Black History Month, it's not just that both Council President Wesson and I are African Americans, two African Americans. We are both alumni of HBCUs, historically black colleges and universities. So I just point that out because HBCUs play such an important role in the development of Los Angeles, and so many of our folks participate in that process. We had a celebration with my alma mater, Morehouse College, a week ago that was very excited. It said reverberations around the country, and I think we got to continue to remember that as a part of our development pipeline for the city and our region.
Part of our historical celebration is also recognizing that Heather Hutt is the first African American woman to represent the 10th district, and that's significant.
Congratulations.
That's significant.
Thank
So
you.
we're all standing on the shoulders of those who ran and who served before us, but it's especially important that we recognize not just the past, but acknowledge the future as well.
Congratulations,
Yes.
by the way.
Thank you.
And it's interesting that you mentioned HBCUs. I attended Howard University,
Oh, look at
so
that.
I'm an HBCU grad as well. And those schools really do help, foster pride in your community, and they really hit back the message to give back.
That's right. That's right. And to really be anchored and to understand what your purpose and to live in your purpose, and to do that with excellence and with it being much more than about yourself and how much money you can make or how many chips you can stack. It really is about how do you leave things better than you found them. And that, I think, goes across the board with HBCUs and beyond, but it's so important to LA. And I pointed out because we don't have one of the traditional HBCUs here on the West Coast, but so many of our young people go there to matriculate and they come back and they make huge contributions.
And we were talking about first, Mayor Bass is the first African-American female mayor of the city. So that was a huge deal when she was elected.
First woman of any from any racial group to be mayor, and she is mayor at a time when we have the first majority female
council.
city council. So Los Angeles keeps doing big things, no matter how tough times gets for us or how tough things are in the rest of the country.
I hate that word DEI, that acronym, but this city is certainly representative of diversity, equity, and inclusion. And what message, with everything that's happening in Washington, what message would you send?
Well, I think it's clear that we're not going back. We have an office of Civil Rights Affairs, for example, in our city. We have a commitment to inclusion, to diversity. And I don't think we're going to be going back from that. We have a majority of a population that's people of color now, and as mentioned before, the leadership is really reflecting those changes. And so I think this is an exciting time, and I'm just so proud of leaders who are coming, this next wave of leadership that are stepping up to the plate and really making a difference in our community.
When you look at Los Angeles, I always call it the tapestry, especially the 10th district. But Los Angeles is really representative of people from all over the world.
That's right.
And so it's important that the leadership looks the same, not just to the folks that are our age or older, but to the children to know, I could be that. Same thing with women, I could be that. So, it's our job to represent well and to see everyone where they are and not just look at life one way.
Absolutely. We say we're not going back, but it's certainly going to be a challenge. Would you agree?
Well, we're not going to go back. That doesn't mean other people aren't going to try to. They're going to push us back. But we've had these struggles before, and freedom, justice, and equality prevails, and the story goes in our direction as long as we fight. And so the long as we fight is the important part. We cannot overlook that, and I think that's especially important in Black History Month. All the nice pictures of all the cool people, Malcolm X and Martin Luther King and Rosa Parks, all those are great. But in Black History Month, I really want to make sure we remember the everyday people, the people who walked instead of rode the bus to work during the Montgomery bus boycott, all those hundreds of thousands, nameless, faceless people that showed up for the marches, all those people that show up to vote, all those people everyday people who take time out of whatever their life is to be a part of the struggle to make sure tomorrow is better than today. That's really, to me, what the Best of Black History Month is about.
All right, I stand corrected. When we fight,
we
win.
That's right.
And we have to remember in Los Angeles, we have some ancestors that really did make a difference. Old California, we had Pio Pico. His first governor was Afro-Latina. He really paved the way for leadership of a gentleman of color. And then we have Biddy Mason, who owned everything on Hill Street. She petitioned for her freedom, came here as a slave, petitioned for her freedom, bought everything on Hill Street, and really made a difference for other people in their growth. So we have some big shoulders to stand on, and they fought for it with a lot less community to support them, and we have community that supports us.
And that legacy really continues. You know, during the migration period of 20s and 30s, of course, Central Avenue was a major corridor, was the corridor in South LA. And so while there's a lot of notoriety about some of the music and jazz clubs that occurred along there, there also were businesses, there were professional services, there were organizations, and those are the kind of things we highlight in our discussion of Central Avenue in this year's program, because it really provides a more holistic appreciation for what was going on. It wasn't just music and jazz and having fun.
Right.
That certainly was a part of it, but it was also a lot of forward-thinking individuals thinking about the civil rights challenges that we were facing, just creating strategies to overcome and being a part of progress.
So we will have a Central Avenue Jazz Festival this year?
We will. It will be in September. We've moved to September, but it's going to be an exciting opportunity to celebrate. This will be our 30th anniversary.
Wow.
Central Avenue Jazz. And that's history. That's history. That's legacy. And so we're very proud.
Absolutely. We've talked about a lot about Black history. What's one thing you want people to take away about our contributions to the city, especially young people?
Well, you know, I think young people, I just think it's important to learn the stories. Learn the stories of Tom Bradley, learn the stories of Biddy Masons, learn the stories of Carlotta Bass, no relationship to Mayor Bass.
Right.
Gil Lindsay.
Gil Lindsay,
Right.
and just a host of folks. Our folks in the entertainment industry that came here very, very early to help the movie business develop in Southern California. There's just so many stories, and I think once you know those stories, it opens up a world of possibility to you, particularly when you're at the start or in development of who you want to be and how you want to be in the world.
Many times our kids only see the headline. They only see the win, but they don't see the journey.
Yes.
And that's what this history part is teaching. It teaches you the journey to the win. And that's where their involvement needs to come in. They have to participate in the journey and not just expect the win.
And we hope to really help them identify individuals they can relate to. You know, they have to know that it's something that they can make happen. And so part of our challenge, our collective challenge, is always making sure that we have young people involved and engaged, but also those who are willing to share, who are willing to give, and who are willing to help move things forward.
Absolutely. Let's talk a little bit about the fires. I know that's still on a lot of people's minds. Where are we in the recovery efforts?
You know, we're having rains right now, so we're hitting a little bit of a hiccup. But you know, one of the things I'm proud to report in the midst of all the sadness and devastation that we are experiencing is that, you know, despite the headlines, Pacific Palisades is ahead of schedule in terms of preparing that space so people can start to rebuilding. We still have a ways to go, but you know, in the beginning, the projection was, you know, somewhere between a year and a half and 2 years.
Right.
Now that's shrank dramatically. So I'm excited about how people are stepping up to get the work done to make us whole again. I'm also excited about how Angelenos, even though we don't represent Altadena, how Angelenos are stepping up for Altadena.
Yes.
And understand very clearly what Altadena represents, what Altadena has been, and what it can be in the future if we all come together and make sure it survives this devastating fire.
Our office was involved early on in providing some masks and water to first responders and those that had been displaced. But volunteers also from our community, from South LA, they were there. And so, you know, it really has brought us together, but made us realize how fragile our environment is and how we have to be good stewards of it.
It's very heartwarming to see humanity come together in a crisis. And that's what we saw just days after. Like the news said whatever, but if you went to any of those drop-off centers, there were rows of cars of people. They were bringing diapers and T-shirts and toothpaste and things, essentials that they, and brand new, not oh, I had this in the cabinet.
Gently used.
I really saw kids and families saying, here's toys. It was beautiful.
You know, it was stunning. Just a little anecdote to Councilwoman Hutt's point. You know, the local Costco had a sign up that says, "We're out of water." Wow. So many people have come to buy water to donate. Like imagine Costco runs out of something, but
Right.
that's how much people were responding and how quickly people were responding.
Exactly, and it wasn't just the local people. We had firefighters coming in from other states, other countries. It was really beautiful to see.
And we had our restaurants going down, going to the substations to take food, gourmet food to the firefighters,
first responders.
to the first responders. It just and nobody had to be asked. People just stepped up.
For people who need assistance and maybe still don't know where to go, is there any city entity they can turn to?
Well, we have the Emergency Response Center in Westwood that remains open. It is open on the daily, and they've actually now added a rebuilding center because they're actually getting to the point where you can start to submit papers and so on and so forth and get help assistance in terms of starting the rebuilding process. So both those things are happening out at the Westwood Recovery Center. There will be one in the 11th District, closer to where the fires actually were once, we get things organized and we get things back to normal. But it's, the thing I would say to everybody watching is the best way you can help Los Angeles is to show up and do business in Los Angeles. If you were planning to visit, plan to visit and stay a little bit longer. Eat at our restaurants, stay in our hotels, go to our shows, go to our sporting events. That's what will help Los Angeles the most, because if our economy slows down because people look on TV and they go, oh, I don't know if it's safe to go there, that'll make the recovery even more difficult. So the best way you can help is come and be with us, do business with us. Los Angeles is open for business in the middle of our recovery.
And of course, aside from the tragedy that has befallen those who had homes or businesses, people lost their jobs.
Yes.
And so we also are focused on how can we provide assistance, how can we provide help, relief to those who are scrambling, who may have that was their only source of employment, and now none. And so it's a multifaceted issue that we've got to address, but something that I know we'll be able to solve.
Especially small businesses.
Absolutely.
So we are addressing this. Will there be legislation, or are we that far down the line yet?
Well, some financial aid has been proposed. It has not been approved yet, but there's some financial assistance and technical assistance being proposed.
With all the changes happening in Washington, and I mean they're just happening every hour, where is FEMA? Is FEMA showing up for the city?
FEMA's shown up for the city, and so far, we've done really well with them. I think, in this time period and with this administration, I always, tell my team and tell folks at the city, don't pay attention to what the headline is. Pay attention to what's actually in front of you. Because, I think they closed FEMA. Then they said we were going to have a voter ID law. Then they said we were going to have to, cancel transgender sports, and they wouldn't help us. All of those things happened. All the while, the people who work at FEMA were doing their job and doing it well. And so far, it's gone really well. And so we're going to keep our eye on the prize and focus on solutions and success, and not get caught up in the sort of circular arguments that the media helps certain people put out every day, it seems like.
But we know there has to be some cooperation and collaboration. It's exciting that the mayor has selected a firm to coordinate the recovery work. Actually, the county has chosen that same firm, so there will be some synergy as we start working together, getting these lots cleaned, and helping to get folks back to their lives.
We talk about the headlines and the conversation. One thing that many, many people in the city are talking about is immigration. And they are very concerned, especially the undocumented residents. What would you say to kind of squash some of these fears?
Well, I think the first thing everybody who is a part of the Los Angeles family, your neighbors are not going to turn their back on you. Your neighbors are not going to look the other way while someone does something to you. Your neighbors are not going to condone it, and your neighbors certainly are not going to encourage it or assist in it. And so we have that as our ethic, but also we have that as our official policy, which Councilmember Price has been a big leader on.
Absolutely. In fact, our office is partnering with a number of organizations in having Know Your Rights workshops over this last several weeks, so that folks can understand what their rights are, what they can do, what they can't do, what the government can do and can't do, but providing some assurance that, as the council president said, we're with you. And that's the message I think that that our government wants to convey.
And he's opened it up so that other offices can come and get that kind of training so that they can learn, okay, we have constituents, how do we serve them? So we're all working diligently to protect people.
Okay. Will there be more workshops?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
And where can people get more
Well, they
information?
certainly can contact CD9 for information about it, 213-473-7009. But the city will also be hosting workshops in conjunction with a number of other community-based organizations.
Where does the city stand on potential, this threat of raids in schools or churches? That's very concerning. Where does the city stand?
Well, I think there's a couple things. I think the official position of the city government, and I think this is the county and the state share this position, is that we're not going to assist in any way. We're not going to provide protection. We're not going to provide cover. We're not going to give you any list of names that they've asked us for several times. We're not doing it in that way. That being said, the way this country is set up, our government also can't contradict the work of the federal government or create a physical barrier for the work. That said, there's what the government can do, and then there's what the people can do. So I think our churches, we have histories where we've had to have confrontations with the government sometime, and I don't expect that our community is going to lay down for any type of raid or you running into somebody, the person who takes care of my child, you running into their house and rousting them out. I don't think people are going to stand by quietly while that happens.
Well, already this week you've seen demonstrations in the streets, youth and others protesting the very idea that there are going to be restrictions that will be unlawfully imposed, and so people aren't going to just take it laying down. And I think there's going to be a cross section of support for immigrant rights.
You just said something really interesting they've asked us for. So the federal government has approached the city and asked the city.
They've approached law enforcement for various lists to give us that person, give us this person, and those things. And we have a formal policy that we don't participate in that. And again, there's a limit to what a government can do. And I think we're sort of right at that because, again,
A local government.
a local government or a state government can do. But again, we understand very, very clearly this city isn't this city without immigrants. It just isn't. This city is made up almost entirely of people who came here from somewhere else. Almost always voluntarily, too. I mean, unlike southern cities where we didn't quite get there because we said, hey, we want to go. Los Angeles has the distinction in the United States of being a place where almost everybody here, they or their ancestors decided I'm going to pick up from where I am and I'm going to go
Come
there.
to Los Angeles,
right?
okay.
Because I'm going to go because I want the warmth of that sunshine. And so that gives a special place for immigrants in our community.
Well, this has certainly been a fascinating conversation. I learned a lot, and I hope the audience will take away many things as well. Thank you, Councilmembers Curren Price and Heather Hutt, and Council President Marqueece Harris-Dawson for coming in today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Thanks
having
us.
us.
All right. Well, that is going to do it for this edition of LA Currents. I'm Anita Bennett. Thank you for watching, and have a great day.